Hello and greetings to all. Through this video, I am continuing the discussion, red versus brown. But again, I'm turning it around by titling these videos red with brown unity. That is assuming that there is such a thing as a disparity between red and brown. Now, a lot of people might see the disparity of red and brown in the fact that anybody south of the border is automatically seen as a Spanish speaker, and as such is tied into Hispanics, Spanish people who came from Spain. So at that point, you're robbed of any Native American essence. You're no longer Native American because you don't speak your native language. You now speak Spanish. Never mind the fact that a lot of us look up to 100% indigenous. Never mind that, because we have Spanish names and we speak Spanish. Now, that is perfectly understandable. However, the same occurred in the North, where a lot of Native Americans might continue to have traditional names, maybe legally, maybe just, with internal affairs, when internal affairs are concerned, or maybe their names are something, and I do not mean to mock, something to the effect of Little Cloud or something that is Native in origin. However, for the most part, a lot of Native Americans do speak English, and a lot of Native Americans do indeed have English names and English customs. Very much so as people south of the border might have Spanish customs, speak Spanish, and have Spanish names. It's been said the fact that Mexicans might have Spanish names does not make them any more indigenous than a Native American who speaks French or English. So that needs to be completely eradicated from our train of thought, since it does not make one group any more or any less indigenous. My hypothesis as to why oftentimes Northern Native Americans see themselves as more Native American is due to the fact that the federal government in the US and Canada has intervened in contributing to decreeing who is Native American and who's not. There's such a thing as the Dawes Rolls, for instance, which I believe are for the Cherokee, which you might be as white as snow, but if somewhere along your distant lineage an ancestor was registered in those rolls, you're automatically Native American. Then for the most part, a lot of tribes and nations do go by the blood quantum system. I had at one point worked for a discount service for a well-known telephone company, and you qualified for a discount if you could provide proof of Native American heritage. And a lot of people would send their blood quantum cards, and a lot of my peers, coworkers who knew about my Native American interests would call me over and be like, look at this one, it's ridiculous. He's like 2 out of 234. He's practically negative nothing Native American. But according to the US government and their own tribal laws, they're still Native American, be they white as snow, and be their otherness more predominant than their indigenous heritage, they're automatically Native American. Now, you let me know if that is fair or not, where a lot of people from south of the border look and are more indigenous than a lot of these low blood quantum individuals. And just to give more information, somebody is 4 out of 4, obviously, if they are full blood. Somebody who's half will automatically be 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, and whatnot. Same fraction systems that we learned back in school. That is the way it breaks down. So for somebody, and I am not exaggerating, for somebody to be 2 out of 234, do the math there. And there's pretty scant Native American heritage in them. But according to the US government and these tribal governments, they are Native American. So at this point, it seems a bit unfair for Northern Native Americans to oftentimes deem people who are indigenous in origin from south of the border as any less indigenous. Meanwhile, in Mexico, a lot of people who do have that indigenous great ancestor will not proclaim them as much as they do that Spanish great grandfather. Or they'll speak about it in a very romanticized way, which is the same way as whites saying, oh yes, my great grandmother was a Cherokee princess, a lot, in the likes of that. So this is in continuation to the handful of Native Americans who have expressed disdain at being bunched up together with Mexicans, saying that Mexicans know nothing about the reservation life, and that we know nothing of the Native American life. Maybe not the Native American life as occurs in the United States, but to a certain extent, as when I illustrate the spectrum of indigeneity, life in the barrio, life as a Chicano is very similar, if not oftentimes identical, particularly for somebody who comes from a indigenous community in Mexico, undergoing the similar circumstances as, say, somebody in the Lakota nation who's enduring great poverty, alcoholism, and a lot of other afflictions that assail the most of us, and not just particular groups. So dividing red versus brown, north versus south, is again a divide and conquer scheme that is killing the Indian and saving the man, and the fact that we are thinking too deeply into our identity when it is plain as can be who is indigenous and who is not, and who ought to advocate for each other and vice versa. So with this, I continue the discussion, and I hope to speak to you all soon. Please like, share, and comment.